The Great Emptiness. Cathar Love 125. The Great Emptiness. It's a term. One could call it the Great Loneliness, the Great Abandonment, who is it in this Western world of ours? Because I'm speaking mainly about the West, the materialistic West. Who hasn't felt or experienced, is a better word, the great emptiness. Where you just feel misunderstood, not understood, like an alien in this, even though there's a sea of humanity all around us. Now, I'm not talking now about people who are in deep depression, which can be caused hormones, various reasons for that, drugs or mind altered by taking of drugs, terrible experiences. I don't mean that. That's so let's not take it to that extreme level where it's a medical condition. I'm talking about ordinary human beings in the West and who've lived life, reasonably normal lives, raised our families, kids gone to university, we've got our home, car, all the things. We've attained our dream to varying degrees. Some have done very, very well, and some even have celebrity status. And yet these people can be prone to this, the great emptiness. What's it all about? What's my real purpose for being here? I've got everything, all a normal family or person would want was family and possessions, and yet I'm not happy. But one thing that most surveys agree upon, that possessions don't make for happiness. Mind you, no possessions doesn't make for happiness either. But in my life, there are times, I can't say I ever felt lonely. When I was a young person, about 17, I was in Sydney alone, happened to be Christmas time. I did have an aunt here, but I thought, well, I can't bring her up on Christmas. I've just, I haven't let her know I've been here for a few weeks. And I had Christmas dinner on my own. I felt a couple of hours of loneliness, but I think that's about the only time I've ever felt lonely in my life, so that's not been one of the emotions that's assailed me. But I've certainly felt I'm different, like an alien being. No one really understands me, but then there's plenty of people I don't understand. And I've had times when I felt generally abandoned, not lonely, but very much on my own, no one to really turn to. When I say no one to turn to for understanding. No one that one can really but talk about the deeper aspects of life. There's people one can talk to, but they're not people that one would put one's trust in. So in that respect, I felt the great emptiness. And yet, with Buddhists, Cathars, Gnostic Cathars, we go out and pursue, we try to attain, we aspire to the great emptiness of being able to detach ourselves from the material world, detach ourselves from our emotional world, detach ourselves from the world of feelings, and enter a state of detachment and yet a state of awareness. At the time, being very conscious of ourselves, our breath, the intimate world around us, and through our breath, different strokes for different folks, different methods of breathing, but we're basically trying to detach ourselves and move into that ocean of stillness, the void, the great emptiness, where one is at one with oneself and the universe, and it's a state of, to some, non-being, and yet you are very much yourself. But it's certainly a state of tranquility of mind and tranquility of soul. And it's nice to escape every so often to that sanctuary, because it is a sanctuary. And the key to it is detachment. Detaching ourselves from the material aspects of the world. But detachment is something that is often misunderstood, and I'll read from the Cathar Codex for Dialogues what Henri Nabour says about detachment, because he puts it rather succinctly, and as to what detachment is and what it isn't. Pardon me while I peruse. The first step is detachment or withdrawal. This has been much understood. It is wrong to say that detachment consists in the abandonment of all material things. Material things are not of themselves attachments. Here is the rub. Attachment lies in desire. Well, there's no argument from Buddha in that respect. You may possess all material things and yet be detached. You may possess very little of material things and yet be attached strongly by desire. It is not material things which keeps the soul occupied and injured by things of this universe, but rather the desire of and the attachment to them. Not all desires are equally harmful to the path. This is to the Cathar spiritual path. Not all desires confuse the soul in the same degree. There are natural desires, that is, natural in the flesh, which do not of themselves harm the voyage of the soul. Natural desires, sexual, eating, sleeping, the normal natural desires of life, which do not of themselves harm the voyage of the soul. The natural movements of the soul towards these physical desires need never be a bar to the reunion. The reunion is one's soul, one's divine spark with the source, the ultimate reunion. The annoyance and distraction they may cause may remain entirely in the physical realm, while the spiritual soul desires only reunion. So the point about detachment and detachment in life is not running off into a cave and escaping from all material things. No, it is in desire. So one can have many possessions, and yet it doesn't matter if you have or don't have them. You don't have a problem with. You don't have this problem of desire, and yet you may be a person with very little, but you have these incredible desires. You might be a person with many material things and still desire much more. And desire can be also for power, things like this control. So desires can be in that area. Very powerful indeed. So this great emptiness that one can feel at times is often through some desire that we have. It might be for a person, it might be for someone that we believe, that we love, family, outside, or whatever, something that's gone wrong. But it's our desire to be at peace with this person or whatever the situation is. So it's not just a desire for material things. So the great emptiness can be something that's brought on in a negative way through our desire for something and not having it. And yet we can aspire to this great emptiness, this great stillness, by detaching ourselves from our desires, our emotions, our feelings, and entering into this area of stillness, where there's peace and tranquility of soul, and which, by the way, is very good medicine. So there's just a few points from a Cathar point of view about this emptiness that we feel sometimes. And also Henri did mention, Henri de Boer said, that often when we feel this emptiness or even being abandoned, it is actually a time when it's actually the source drawing us to the source, and in actual fact, in reality, can be a good time, which is happening in our spiritual path, but we don't realize it. And one other aspect which is worth keeping in mind is that when things are, and we are down a little, for whatever reason, the Creator, the Source, wants us to experience all there is to experience in life, all the highs, all the lows, and all the in-betweens. And it's only through experiencing it that we can know about it, its joys, its sadness, its pain. And we need more than one lifetime to achieve that. So when one has that background knowledge, and the other thing is, and it's an essential thing I feel, that the source has for us an absolute unconditional love. But sometimes it's very hard for us to see that when we look at the picture of one lifetime, and we have our family and we have things happen to us. Often it's the death of a loved one, and it's people starving to death, some people experiencing absolutely terrible lives. And it's very, very hard to understand these things when you only believe you have one life. Because some people have wonderful lives, but most people have not the greatest lives, and some people have absolutely miserable lives. So in the context of one life, it's hard to, it's very hard to think, well, how come you got a good God and he's doing all this to you? Doing all this to you? Where's God's love? But if you're looking at it from a Cathar or Buddhist, or so I can speaking for Cathars now, but you're looking at it on the big picture, where each of us upon creation is given the gift of immortality for eternity, and it's lifetime, and within those lifetimes we're going to have all these various experiences and life events happening in our lives, so we can experience them. So we'll experience the very highs, the very lows, and all those in between. But what happens, it's only through experiencing those things that we truly learn. It's very hard to get these type of things through a book, so we need these multiple lives. So the fact is that if we are going through this difficult time, but we know it's a difficult time at this period and it will end, and it's within this lifetime, but this lifetime is only one of many lifetimes, and it's only a glitch within this lifetime. So we have this big picture of where we are, and we're traveling, and the fact that we are immortal and eternal, and being that rather than heaven or hell, with this picture of us as immortal beings that are eternal, it is the journey. The journey becomes more important than the destination. So when we have this knowledge, it helps us deal with these times, these moments, or longer, when we feel this great emptiness, loneliness, abandonment. And it certainly made a difference to me and some others that I know, knowing this. And I just too often I see people who got their cultural and traditional and religious lives, and they're caught up in this, but it's caught up in this one lifetime, and within the context of one lifetime, it is very, very hard to understand a good God, a loving God, when we see all this pain and often evil things happening around us. But when we look in the context of many lifetimes and our immortality and our eternal being, and we're experiencing many lifetimes and all these different conditions, then we can say, yes, this is but one thing in one lifetime which we need to experience, so that we know what it's all about, and also how do we extricate ourselves from that situation. Bye for now. Talk again soon. Bye.